We're just going to come out of that to take you to news on the go. Stats SA currently releasing the quarter labour force survey for the first quarter of the year. Speaking now is Statistician General Risenga Maluleke. Let's listen in.
Employed, who indicated that they were looking for employment for 4 days prior to the interview. We're sitting at 8 million. And of course, they've gone up by about 237,000. Straight to 8.2 million. The discouraged work seekers, having gone up by 7,000, remain the same at 3.5 thousand. And of course, the other not economically active, as we will know, that the discouraged work seekers are part and parcel of the not economically active, moved from 13 million to 13.2 million. So when we look over time, I know Tsepo Mungai always asks me, but tell me, SG, these movements, how do you look at them over time? If we just look in the last few quarters, we lost 92,000 workers in the second quarter of 2024. Third quarter, we gained 294,000. We went to gain again 132,000 workers in the fourth quarter. But this quarter, as I've already indicated, we lost 291,000, as it shows on the right-hand side. Now, when we look at the 8.2 million, the 8.2 million people who would have to put it in lay language would be that these are people who are actively looking for employment. They represent an unemployment rate of 32.9%, which becomes our headline number, a rate for unemployment as of the first quarter of 2025. How do we come about that? Ntokozo, this is the point that I was making earlier, that we first look at the working age. While we have a population of about 63 million in South Africa, but those that are 15 to 64 years are sitting at 41.7 million. And out of those, we have 25 million in the labor force. That is, they are either employed or unemployed. And indeed, when there was that interview that I was listening to yesterday, these numbers become very critical in the analysis going forward. So when we look at the employed and the unemployed, and we take 8.2 million out of 25 million, we come back with an unemployment rate of 32.9%, which is our headline number. Having said so, we also look at the not economically active in their entirety. We are saying that students, quarter-on-quarter changes, we lost about 206,000. They went down 206,000. The others went up 7,000 with discouraged work seekers, and indeed the homemakers up 2,000. Those who said they are old or too young to work up 4,000, 322,000 of other, and indeed 55,000 those who said they are either ill or they are living with disability. Now, having said so, we can see that in terms of percentage shares, the only ones that went up are other and people with illness or disability that went up by 1.8 percentage points as well as 0.2 percentage points respectively. The others have actually gone down in terms of their share. Let us look at the absorption rate and the participation rate. Let us start with the participation rate. The participation rate is the proportion of those in the labor force, or in the working age, who are either employed or unemployed. And that sits at 60%. But then when we look at the absorption rate, those in the working age who are employed, a proportion of those in the working age who are employed, we're sitting at 40.3%. And of course, if we look from the left-hand side, we were sitting with a gap of 15.4% about a decade ago, and now we are sitting with 19.7%. When those two lines go divergent or the gap becomes bigger, it means that we have a challenge in terms of containing employment, because we have people who are actively looking for employment, but for whatever reason, they are not able to get employment. And as such, they keep on pushing the participation rate a little higher than the absorption rate. And in this regard, what we would aspire is to see the gap between the two lines narrowing. Let us go back to the 8.2 million people who said they were looking for employment when we interviewed them, as well as the 3.5 million people who are our discouraged work seekers, and another million who didn't look for employment, not because they were discouraged, but because of other reasons. But had employment come across, they would have taken it. We are sitting at 12.7 million people, and that represents the expanded unemployment rate of 43.1%. This is what Ntokozo was talking about with the professor yesterday when he was saying the expanded unemployment rate is sitting at about 30 million. And I'm saying certainly it's just an arithmetic of looking at the entire population. But to unpack it is that we talk about the 8.2 million people who return the headline figure or unemployment rate of 32.9% plus the 3.5% and the 3.5 million discouraged work seekers and the 1 million. It's the first time we hit this million in time that I can remember. My good friends here are telling me that those who said we could have taken up employment if it came, and but didn't look for employment, it's the first time we hit a million. We have always been around your 700,000. The highest we went to was about almost 900,000, but 700,000, 800,000. So we have gone a little higher. Having said so, let us look at how the provinces are behaving. Over time, we had always seen, for more than a decade, the Eastern Cape leading with the official and expanded unemployment rate. But where we are sitting now, in recent times, we are seeing when it comes to official, the two provinces are actually competing for the position in terms of which province has the higher official unemployment rate. But the Northwest, when it comes to the expanded, seems to be showing a lead. And as we can see in this regard, the Northwest has the highest expanded, firstly, official unemployment rate in red, 40.4%. It is followed by the Eastern Cape, followed by the Free State sitting at 37.9%, all the way to the Western Cape with an official unemployment rate of 19.6%. And of course, when we go to the expanded unemployment rate, we can see that the Northwest is leading, sitting at 56%, followed by Mpumalanga, Mpumalanga sitting at 49.3%, followed by Limpopo at 48.6%. 48.6%, followed by KwaZulu-Natal at 46.9%. Those are the provinces that have a gray number going furthest to the right. And indeed, when we look at the bottom, it's the Western Cape with an expanded unemployment rate of 24.7%. So the Western Cape has an expanded unemployment rate which is even lower than the official unemployment rates of the other provinces or all the other provinces. Now, if we look at the time series, we can see this issue that we're talking about on the left-hand side, that the Northwest, their unemployment rate was behaving like it's almost at a national level, as we sometimes see with the unemployment rate of Gauteng that hovers around the national level. But now we can see that it's starting to leave the pink color. The line, the brown line, is starting to go higher. The Eastern Cape has generally been having an unemployment rate official which has been higher. As we can see, the line is actually flying higher than the national average in pink. But when we go to the right-hand side, we can see the unemployment rate of the Western Cape has always been lower than the national average. In terms of movements, quarter on quarter between the provinces, we can see that the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal had the highest increase in terms of the unemployment rates. As we can see, when we look at KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal is the third from the left-hand side. We can see that from the previous quarter, it's going on a steep. So is the Eastern Cape. But when we look at the Western Cape, it's almost remaining flat. So is Gauteng, that is rising, but not as much. Limpopo rising, not as much as we can see in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. When we look at those that are in long-term unemployment as well as short-term unemployment, so generally we're saying those that are in the official unemployment rate of 32.9 are represented by the 8.2 million persons. Out of those, 6.3 million are in what we call long-term unemployment, meaning that they have been unemployed for a minimum of 12 months. And only 1.9 million, almost 2 million, are in the short-term unemployment where their unemployment is less than 12 months. Formal employment seeks to lead all the time, sitting out of the 16.8 million, 11.4 million are in the formal sector employment. The informal sector is accounting for 3.3 million and that is representative of 19.9%, whereas the formal employment is accounting for 64.1% on the right-hand side. Private households are sitting at 1.1 million, accounting for 6.4%, and agriculture sitting at 930,000, accounting for 5.5%. Agriculture has always been sitting at about 900,000, so it's gone up a bit, and these learned colleagues always tell me that I must remember these facts when they share them with me. We can see that all the sectors have seen an increase. Formal sector by 245,000, informal sector by 17,000, 6,000 for agriculture. The private households have gone down by 68,000 persons. And thus, when we look at the industries, we can readily see that in terms of the losses, since in this quarter we have seen losses, the biggest losses were in trade, 194,000. Construction, 119,000. 68,000 private households. Community and social services, which includes government, 45,000 jobs lost. And in mining, 35,000 jobs lost. And indeed, there are industries that tried to recover jobs, but overall, when you bring them together with the other industries, there were losses. Those that recovered, we can see in transport, 67,000, finance, 60,000, utilities as in gas, electricity, and water, sitting at 35,000, agriculture, 6,000, and manufacturing, 2,000. Which are the provinces that led in terms of gaining employment? We can see that the Western Cape gained 49,000 jobs, followed by Gauteng, 9,000 jobs, the Free State, 4,000 jobs. The biggest losses were in KwaZulu-Natal, 104,000 jobs lost. Eastern Cape, 83,000 jobs lost. Northwest, 57,000 jobs lost. Limpopo, 55,000 jobs lost. And indeed, Mpumalanga and the Northern Cape, 43,000 and 12,000 jobs lost, respectively. When we look at the levels of education, we already know that our unemployment rate is sitting at 32.9%. But those with less than matric are sitting at 34.9%. That is higher than the national average. So with matric, my apologies, those with matric are sitting at 34.9%, followed by those with less than matric at 39%. It used to happen that those with matric were lower, their unemployment rate was lower than the national average. But in the last 18 months to 2 years, they have actually gone higher, meaning that it's no longer fashionable to say, I have matric and I'll be able to land a job. Whereas when we look at graduates, their unemployment rate is the lowest, sitting at 11.7%. It's not good when people don't have employment, but yet we can see here that when you have higher levels of education, you are able to get employed, and the unemployment rate of graduates is the lowest at 11.7%. And of course, other tertiary, their unemployment rate is 22.1%. Let us look at population groups. We are saying that black Africans, as has happened historically, are sitting with the unemployment rate higher than the national average. And in the first quarter of 2025, the unemployment rate of black Africans was sitting at 37%. And that of the colored population group was sitting at 23.6%. Indian Asians, 13.3%. And the white population group at 7.3%. So the black African population group is the only one that has an unemployment rate higher than the national average. When we unpack in terms of male-female, we can see on the top left-hand side that the black African females are sitting with the highest unemployment rate, sitting at 39.8%. Even when you compare them with the black African males, they remain higher because the black African males are sitting at 34.6%. And of course, below the South African average, we can see that the colored females are sitting at 24% versus the colored males sitting at 23.2%. The Indian Asian females are sitting at 17.3% unemployment rate versus 10.7% for their male counterparts. And the white population group, the females are sitting at 8.6% unemployment rate versus their male counterparts sitting at 6.2%. So we can see generally that unemployment affects females the most, with black African females being much more vulnerable in the labor markets, having the highest unemployment rate in the land. When we look at the population groups from the left-hand side, we can see that the black Africans in general their unemployment rate has always been higher than the national average. As we can see that the brown line is above the pink color of the national average. All the other population groups have always been below the national average, with the whites having the lowest unemployment rate consistently over time. Let us look at labor markets and youth, that is young people. We are saying that youth unemployment remained high overall, and of course that is in the past decade. So when we look at unemployment, and I want us to start looking at the pink color, the shaded color. That is our national average. For those 35 to 64 years, we can see there's a black color buried inside the pink color. It shows that their unemployment rate has always been lower than the national average. But young people, 15 to 34 years, their unemployment rate has always been consistently higher than the national average, currently sitting at 46.1%. But when we unpack them, we can see that those aged 15 to 24 years, their unemployment rate is sitting at 62.4%. And those aged 25 to 34 years, their unemployment rate is sitting at 40.4%. So when we look at the participation rate and the absorption rate of all age cohorts, we can see that the darker gray color, as people go into older age cohorts, we can see that the darker gray is much more bigger, meaning that their participation rate is driven by the absorption rate, meaning that they are employed. Whereas for the younger people, we can see the lighter gray color becomes, if it's either wider for the 25 to 34 years, or it's even smallest for 15 to 24 years, meaning that their participation rate is lowest nationally. But where we see in the 25 to 34 years, we can see that even when it actually hovers closer to the 35 to 44 years, it's driven largely by lack of employment than employment or absorption rate. Having said so, the Northwest and the Eastern Cape showed both the highest unemployment rate and the lowest participation rate. So let us look at the colors. The unemployment rate is in red.
All right, so there is the Statistician General, I beg your pardon, Risenga Maluleke, giving the latest quarterly labor force survey statistics. Essentially, the jobs numbers in the country for the first quarter of the year are out, and I'm afraid not a great story to tell. Unemployment in the country has gone up by 1 percentage point, now at 32.9%. Stats say telling us that 291,000 jobs have been lost from the previous quarter to the first quarter of the year. That means around 17.1 million people in the country are currently without employment. It's a staggering figure, certainly unsustainable. The official rate, as I mentioned, is at around 32.9%. That means 1 in every 3 people, roughly speaking, is looking for a job. I'm just going to get the broad definition of unemployment at now a staggering 43.1%. As has been now the case for some time, we're told that black women bear the brunt of this unemployment figure, and in particular young people. We're told 46.1% is the unemployment figure for that particular demographic.